Hello, my name is Resiland, and welcome back to Project Zomboid.
Hello, I want to welcome you to the special edition. This is the 100th episode of Season 2 and Woodrow Liles. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to go through a couple of things here with Woodrow Liles and go through a couple of stuff. So at the on the 100th episode, we have killed 6,770 zombies. We've survived 5 months and 5 days. So just kind of a review. Part of the point of this episode is I'm going to tell the story of Woodrow Liles, kind of give his backstory, who he is, how he came to be where he's at in this zombie apocalypse, and just give a little details about who the character is. So as we look at the character sheet here, we can see that the weight is we're at 78 pounds. And gaining weight. Now, just as a review of our trait, we have high thirst, we have smoker, we have weak stomach, we have Sunday driver, we have burglar, cat eyes, fast reader, outdoorsman, wakeful, and stout. Those are our skills that we have, or our traits that we have. And the part of who, it kind of goes back into who Woodrow Liles is. So the first thing we're going to do, as we see a little bit of snow patches here in the morning, as we get up, we're going to go check our traps. Did we catch anything? I can see the first trap has nothing in it. We do have some carrots and stuff to put something to bait the traps. So far, I have not caught anything in the traps. We'll put some fresh carrots there. Get away from that tree. Let's see. Nothing. I can remove the trap, but I can't bait the trap. Does that mean? I guess that probably means that it's got bait in it. Don't know for sure. That one has bait, so no. Let's see if we remove the trap. And we can place a trap. Put the trap back down in a new spot. Huh. Yeah, I'm not seeing any way to bait that trap. Got options to remove it, but not to bait it. Still have carrots, so that should be fine. I don't know. All right. Well, we will let that go. We don't nothing in the traps, so we'll move on over to. We're gonna do a little bit of fishing. Try to catch some fish. I really need some meat, so that's since I'm not catching anything on the trapping, we will try fishing again. That has not been real good. But going back to the story of Woodrow Liles, kind of a backstory of who he is and just where he comes from, how he ends up in this position. Now, Woodrow Liles, before this apocalypse occurred, he lived in Louisville. He was a resident of Louisville, and he was a bank manager in Louisville. Now, there's a little bit of a story to it, and I should say he's an assistant manager, not the bank manager. He was an assistant manager. But really, the bank job was just something he did in order to support what he was really up to. Now, it goes back to when he was a boy and his childhood. Now, when Woodrow was a boy, when he was 14, he had a friend. His best friend in the world was a guy by the name of Mason Jones. And Mason Jones had a stepdad who owned a garage, an auto shop. His name was Freddie Whitlock. Now, Freddie Whitlock owned a garage, but Freddie Whitlock was actually he dealt primarily. He'd fix your car if you had problems. He did repair work. He did a little bit of body work. He did a little bit of legitimate business, but his primary business was dealing with stolen cars. He would take cars that were stolen, he would chop those cars up, and he would sell those parts, and that's how he made his money. Well, when Woodrow, starting when he was at 14, he decided one day he and Mason, his best friend, they stole his mom's car and went for a ride. 14-year-old boys out doing things they probably ought not to be involved in. They're out doing their thing, and with that, they are out trying to do just take a joyride. Well, probably things might have turned out very differently if they had gotten caught. But they went for their joyride. They came back. They put the car back up, and no one was ever the wiser. They got away with it. And so that kind of sparked a thing over the next few years where they took multiple approaches to, stealing cars, taking joyrides. But in the early days, they would take the cars and they would return them. They would just go for a ride, and they would bring the cars back. So the cars were never actually missing or stolen. They were just taking a joyride. But when he was 16, he and Mason one night, they decided to take the car of a doctor in town. And the doctor had a really nice, really fancy car. And while they had the car, they were involved in a minor accident, and they got caught. So they were in a stolen car. And then they got caught. Now, at the time of the accident, Mason was the one driving. So Mason got in trouble. He got a couple of years in juvie for his, for stealing the car. On the other hand, Woodrow only got really a slap on the wrist. He just got probation and didn't have to do anything. Since he wasn't the one driving at the time, he got away without getting in a whole lot of trouble. But the catch was when all this went down, Freddie Whitlock, who was the owner of the garage and the stepdad of Mason, saw an opportunity. If the boys were going to be running around stealing cars, and obviously they had been doing so, it became to light that they had done this more than once. He decided to take advantage of that, and as the Mason and Woodrow were entering the end of kind of their upperclassmen years as in high school, he started actually giving them instructions on which cars to go after, and he encouraged them to actually steal cars, bring them to him, and he would actually dispose of the cars, and he would pay them a fee. So they started earning a little bit of money by stealing cars on the side, for Mason's stepdad. And so that was kind of the backstop of everything that got started. Now, Woodrow Liles he's pretty intelligent. He's not really an idiot. He knows what he's doing. And stealing cars, he was always smart and careful on stealing cars. So he got to thinking one day is that, if he could make money stealing cars, what could he do in order to increase his odds of getting the cars, getting them cleanly, not getting caught, and making good money in several different ways on these cars. So he got to looking into it, and that's when he hit on the idea of going to work in a bank and working as with the loans, or at least becoming good friends with someone in the bank that worked in the loan department, so that he would know when the cars were up for being repossessed. When the cars were delinquent, when owners were delinquent on their payments and the car was in danger, the owner had been notified that they were, that the car would be repossessed if they didn't make a payment. He would actually then, that was his golden opportunity, and he seized on that as a way for him to sort of double dip, to have a legitimate profession, and then on the side go after cars that no one was going to be looking for. Right, that was the thing that goes back to is, how could he steal a car and nobody not be reported as stolen? At least not be reported as stolen for several days. If you go steal a car out of somebody's driveway, if they get up the next day, they get to go to work and their car's not there, they're going to call the police. That's pretty standard. Or if they decide to go to the grocery store for a midnight snack, if their car isn't there, they're going to immediately call the police. Somebody has stolen my car. If he took the car 30 minutes before, now the police are out looking for it, it increases the likelihood of him being caught. However, if he takes the car and no one reports it stolen for 2 or 3 days, or maybe even up to a week, well, his likelihood of getting caught goes way down. Drive careful, be safe, don't speed, don't break any traffic laws, odds are he can control his own fate. So Woodrow hit onto this as the perfect scenario for him. He would have a job. He would work at that job, but he would use the job, which was working in the bank, to find opportunities to steal cars that people wouldn't actually be reporting missing. And he used that to augment his income. And that was what he was doing at the point in time when this zombie apocalypse event happened. He was working in the bank, and he was out. He had actually stolen a car that very night, right before the event happened. There was a car that was delinquent on its payment. That car was in Muldraugh. He had stolen that car, dropped the car off with his friend who owned the garage, and over in now the friend that owned the garage, Freddie Whitlock. He's the garage owner there in West Point, where Woodrow is at right now. There's the garage in town. That's where Freddie Whitlock's garage prior to this happening. So he dropped the car off. He stole the car. He dropped it off for Freddie. Just after 10 o'clock that night. And then he went back to Mason's house in Muldraugh and was just laying low, just kind of relaxing, laying low, not doing much, in Muldraugh. And he had a couple of days off at that point in time before he had to be back at work. And so he was just going to chill out for a couple of days, in case there was any heat came down. That was tended to be his pattern, as he kind of disappeared off grid for a couple of days, for while things, settled down, make sure nothing was going on before he showed back up at work. Now with that, that was kind of, that explains just sort of the backstory of, how he came to be in Muldraugh at the time and where he comes from. Oh boy, we just caught a fish. And now that's a little bit exciting. A small pike. That is the first fish I have caught in several hours of fishing since we've been doing things. But that's a little bait fish popped up with a small pike. We'll cook that here in a little while and make some, we'll make some food with it. Probably make some stir fry with that. That ought to actually fit in several pans of stir fry. Give us some additional food that we can eat. So, of course, we caught the ubiquitous pair of socks before that. Seems to be the case. So anyway, back to the story of Woodrow Liles and what he's doing here in the zombie apocalypse. So with that, now at the time of this occurring, now he had a girlfriend, Meg Tarkin. Now Meg Tarkin also lived in Louisville, and they were living together in Louisville. More accurately, you could say Woodrow Liles was living with Meg. It was Meg's apartment. He was living with her, but she also worked at the bank. She was his in. She was the one that actually worked in the loan department. Now he hasn't had any contact with Meg. He hasn't had any contact with Mason. He has no idea what happened to Mason at this point in time. He has pretty good idea. Probably, most likely, Freddy has become a zombie, although he has not run into Freddy yet. He is back in West Point kind of looking for him. But at this point in time, no clue, what happened to Mason. Hasn't run across Freddy and hasn't tried to make it to Louisville yet. Now, part of that is just simply, he hasn't had an opportunity to get back to Louisville. He's trying to prepare, get set up where he can do things. He knows that his survival depends on him being careful, him being slow, and regardless of what's going on in Louisville, he's not going to be a whole lot of help to Meg. The odds are she's already a zombie, just like that's the odds that Freddy is a zombie. He will look, but at the end of the day, he's not going to rush off to Louisville looking for someone who is most likely at this point a lost cause. His first and foremost thought right now, and has been in everything he's ever done, is to take care of himself, to make sure that he stays alive, to do the things he needs to do to protect himself, and then he will make his way over to try to find out what happened to them, but not spend a whole lot of, he's not going to take a whole lot of risk in doing so. He's just, right now, it's all about Woodrow Liles and how he stays alive. How his goal is to try to make it back to Louisville, to find out what happened, and to see if he can figure out what happened, and then from there make his plans about what he's going to do next. Now, as we get over and on into the afternoon, and the fantastic, there we go, awesome, 60 centimeters. That's 33 food. That's not bad. We'll fillet that thing up and cook that. In the meantime, we are going to cook the rest of our, or eat the rest of our stir fry that we have here. All right. That's enough fishing for the day. So we'll move on to our next activity. So part of the rest of the thing that we're doing while we're at it here is that while he had some mechanic skills, he had some, he had, as a burglar, he had the ability to hotwire cars. He knew how to hotwire cars and do things like that. We are going to go through the mechanics. We need to up our mechanic skills just a little bit more. And so that's what we're going to go do next, is get our mechanic skills up. We're going to throw the fish in the refrigerator. This will be something we can eat later. All right, and we're full at the moment, so I'm in good shape on that. Let's go ahead and throw our fishing rod and we had some worms and bait fish. Let's see, little bait fish, and then the socks that I don't need. I don't even see what. No, there are socks. Yes, I will throw those in there. Okay, so let's head out to where some wrecks are and see if we can't up our skills while we're doing things. We still have snow on the ground. It's 36 degrees, patches of snow all over the place. So it's not a bad thing, but we've got we'll head out and do some other things while we're talking about this. So once back to the thing, he was living with his girlfriend. At this point in time, he assumes that something has happened to her, and that she is, no reason to rush back to Louisville at this point in time, given what he has encountered here in Muldraugh and then later in West Point. And there's not a whole lot of hope that either Freddie or Meg would be alive, but he will go check it out eventually. But like I said, he's not really in a huge hurry to do that. And that just goes back to his outlook on things, the way he views the world. Now, part of it was, as a kid, at the different things that he did as a kid. Him and Mason got into things. They were inseparable as kids. But Woodrow isn't really what you would consider a people person. He kind of does his own thing. He's not really into a lot of group activities. He's not really a whole lot of he's not going to be the one that goes down and does a lot of things with other people. He's a little bit of a loner. Doesn't mind being a loner. And that's just part of who he is, and part of what he does. So he's like I said, he doesn't mind being on the outside of things and doing things his way. Wow, look at there. There's things in the back of this car. I'm going to throw the broken trunk lid in there. No, we're not either. Well, that car battery's in good shape. Throw that out. So we're just working on getting our skills up. We take things off, we put things back. That's the way you get the skills up. So next up for Woodrow is, kind of as he goes through the different things that he needs to do, is he has to figure out, how to make it back to Louisville. The key reason he's going back to Louisville is not for his girlfriend. He is, like I said, he's not really the nicest guy in the world. He's really going back to Louisville because she had some valuable items in the apartment that might help in his survival. She liked to do a lot of hiking and camping, and she had some specialty gear that might help him long term with his survival, especially as he tries to get out of the area and needs to be able to try to get out of the area and then possibly sneak back into the area and do the various different things there. So she has things that for long term, as he tries to get out of this zombie zone into a safe area, that might it's one, they're not going to just. The authorities aren't just going to allow him to do that. He's going to have to try to sneak his way into another area, and then with that, he wants to try to he has to try to survive and get there. So part of that is him trying to get back in there, get as much stuff as he can to help his overall survival. And that's really for him what it's all about, is how does he take care of himself. Like I said, he's not a nice guy. This is not the guy you want with you if things go wrong. If things go wrong and the crap hits the fan, this guy is going to be looking for how he survives and how he takes care of himself. I mean, Woodrow's fully subscribes to the thing. If there's a bear chasing two of you, he doesn't have to outrun you. He just has to he doesn't have to outrun the bear. He just has to trip you and outrun, you. The bear will eat you, and he will survive. He is a survivor. No matter what, he's going to look after number one. Like I said, not a nice guy. But at the end of the day, we still kind of root for him in this situation because there's nobody around. He hasn't seen a single survivor since this zombie apocalypse happened. Now, part of that was, this event happened. Everything happened kind of quickly. He had just stolen a car. He was laying low in the house for a couple of days, turned on the radio, listened to the news, found out what was happening, and then kind of discovered that, things had gone to hell in a handbasket out. He walks out the house and there's just zombies everywhere. So kind of going back to the whole thing is, pick up a weapon and start killing. Whatever you can find, honestly. And it's like, no big deal. Just get the whole thing. Oh, well, crap. I have to remove the window before I can remove the door. Makes sense, right? So I'm just taking things off, putting things back. This is all about just trying to level my skills up. So we'll take the window off. Rear left door now can come off. So what we're with Woodrow and his whole plan now, it has kind of shifted. Now that he realizes that this zombie apocalypse has kind of changed things. If he wants to survive long term, he can survive in this zone, in this area for quite some time. But eventually he needs to try to get back to civilization. And that means he has to work his way out of this zone. Now this thing's going to be cordoned off. Let's face it, zombie apocalypse, they're killing everybody. Things are not good, right? And so they're killing people in this zone. They hemmed people up into the area, trying to control and contain it. So in order to get out of the containment zone, it's going to require, number one, some equipment, number two, some skill, and he's not going to be able to go out through the normal means. He's not going to be able to walk down the road or drive down the road and demonstrate that he's not a zombie and get out of that. Nope, they're not going to let him out. They'll just shoot and kill him before he even gets close. So he has been thinking about this a lot. He's been thinking about, how do I get out of this zone? And so with that, he has to go in, and he knows he has to go in. He has to get in, and he has to figure out a way to make it into a remote area where he can survive for a number of days on end. And he has to then use that remote area and avoid detection and get across the line into the zone where there's no containment. Now, he hasn't yet been to that area. That's one thing looking at this. He doesn't know where that's at. He doesn't know what we would run into there. But he's going to have to figure it out pretty soon. And that's before he runs out of the ability to have food and other things. Now, he does have some gardening capability, but let's face it, for somebody whose primary way of earning income was to steal cars, and he was using a bank job as cover, gardening is hard work, and definitely not the ideal way that he wants to be surviving. Yes, it'll work until something else comes along, but he's fully convinced that something else is going to come along soon enough that he can do something else and get out of this area. Now, along with that, he wouldn't mind running across another survivor. Two survivors that would have a better chance of survival if they could work together. He's been by himself. And while he is primarily not while he's not necessarily a great team player and all of that, he also is not a hermit. He had a girlfriend, he had friends, or at least acquaintances. He's used to being around people. He wants people around. He wants to interact with people, so he needs to find a way out of this zone. So part of that is that's what he's hoping for, is that he can work his way over into Louisville, and that'll be one of the things he does. Get set up here, establish a good, strong, solid base, a safe base here, and then use this to stage into Louisville to get the things he needs. Now, he's not expecting to get out through Louisville, but what he is hoping to find in Louisville is something that will help him understand, help him with being able to find a way out of the zone. You know, so I mean, as he gets into that area, maybe he can find a way to, you know, maybe get out of this, you know, I guess the event zone where it's under quarantine, under a lockdown. Let's see. I'm gonna try to remove the gas can here, the gas tank, I should say. I managed to get the gas tank off. I don't have a 100% chance of getting it back on. We'll see if I get it on. If not, we'll throw it in we'll throw it down on the ground. Well, yeah, I got it back. Nice. So part of this right now is what we're doing here is just simply working on leveling up, and I'm getting close. I am getting very close on the XP status. So installing a battery evidently opens and closes a door. Engine condition is too low for me to be able to harvest any parts from it. Need a jack and a lug wrench to do the next items. Okay, well, I've taken everything off that car I can do with the tools that I have on me. So let's just take the next car. I'm getting, let's see where I'm at. 1447 of 1500. We're getting close. We're just going to continue working on this? Well, maybe we're not. Can't do the left side, they're too close together. So we'll just do the front for the right side. All right, now going back to Woodrow Liles and his plans and what he's doing. So he's been, he's now found himself in a jam. He has found himself in a quarantine zone. Zombies all around him, and he has started having to kill these zombies. Now, some of these things is what happens if he runs into Freddy. You know, I mean, Freddy was his dad's, you know, his friend's stepdad. You know, in a way, his employer, I guess. He was the one that encouraged him and taught him how to steal cars, taught him how to, you know, hotwire them. You know, and did, you know, all the other components. He, you know, he would steal the cars and sell them to him. You know, what happens if he runs into Freddy and Freddy is a zombie? Is that going to be a problem? Well, you'd have to understand a little bit about Woodrow Liles. At this point in time, probably not. He really, at this point in time, it's all about how he survives. He is not overly concerned with how, you know, what happened with his friends. At this point in time, it is really all about him. You know, he assumes he is the survivor. And there, as it gets to be 7:40 in the evening, we finally level up on our mechanics to level 5. That is going to allow us to take things from the engine. Now, that engine is also not in good shape. Let's see if this one's in any better shape. The engine here is also 8%. Can't take that part, those parts either. So with that in place, we're going to go back now to our base and see what we can do. Now we need a cigarette, just as a note here. So we've done a little bit of fishing today. We've done a little bit of mechanic work. He's up now to level 5 mechanic. So while he wasn't necessarily a mechanic beforehand, really only knew how to hotwire the cars, he has been making some pretty good progress. Alright, we'll take this. Let's see, we will unpack the water bottle. I think I have some spare engine parts so we can do a little bit of work on this car. And that is what's going to come next. We can see our lights on in here. Looks like the lights inside the house may have went off. No, they're on. When I go inside, that's very good. All right, let's do a couple things here. Let's drop off the frying pan since we've eaten the food in it. It's no longer of any value to be carrying around. Well, I didn't mean to put the frying pan inside the washer. That was certainly not where it was supposed to go. There we go. And let's fill our water bottles. Fill the empty bottle. Oh, and we are carrying around a broken windshield. Wonderful. That would explain the heavy load. I really don't want junk auto parts in here. Let's see if we can go put this in one of the... See if we can go get rid of it. We'll come over here. Onto the, or at least beside the road. We'll just throw this down over here. All right, there we go. Very good. Well, let's go back and see if we can find some auto engine parts. I know I have some up here somewhere. Spare engine parts. I have a whopping 3 of them. It's okay. We're going to see if we can do some repairs on this truck. This engine is at 38%. We will do repair engine. So the first thing we'll do is, I think we could probably do this 3 times. We got 3 engine parts. It went to 41%. Oh, we have no more spare engine parts. Did that really use up 3 spare engine parts? It appears that it did. We got 1% per engine part. Well, okay. That's, I'm not sure what to say about that, other than it's going to take a lot of engine parts to fix this car. That's fine. There's a lot of cars laying around. We'll just have to find ones that have stuff in them and take care of that. All right. With that in mind, we will, let's go ahead and attach our crowbar, just in case we run into a zombie. We're going to come over here and check our traps. We were here this morning. We have not seen anything in the traps. Can't put any bait in that trap. Really don't know why that is the case. All right, nothing there. All right, with that in mind, nothing in the traps. We did catch a fish, so we can do a little bit of cooking with our fish, so that's what we'll head back to do, just as part of what we're doing. So back inside the fences. The garden is not growing. It is very cold outside, so we're not surprised by the fact that the water is not growing. Plenty of water. Oh, it is growing. Those are seed too. It is growing. It's slow, but it is growing. That's 2 of 7. 2 of 7 on the strawberries. 2 of 7 there. They do have water. Okay, everything is stage 2, so it is progressing slowly but surely. All right, let's see. Let's cook this fish. This is so the small pike. We are going to slice the fillet. Let's grab us some. We have more rotten cabbage. Get rid of that. Grab one, grab one, grab one, grab one. Is there anything else? All right, there we go. That'll be what it is. So let's see. I want to grab 2 frying pans. So we're gonna make some fish food. So the rotten frozen cabbage. So let's go get rid of the rotten stuff first. We'll put it in the compost bin. Rotten food there. All right, now let's see. Now he's hungry. Meat and vegetables stir fry. This is 24, so let's go ahead and eat the rest of that stir fry. I should take care of any hunger. Probably continue with the weight gain. All right, that gives me another pan. So I got 3 pans. I got 2 fillets of fish. So what I want to do is create stir fry from random fish. I got most of one of them. We want to create stir fry from the fresh uncooked fish fillet, 15. And then let's see, what I'm going to do here is come over here and get rid of the extra frying pan. No reason to have that in my inventory because I'm not going to use it. Now then, stir fry, we will add a fish. Didn't get much out of that, but didn't expect to get much out of that. That's okay. There we go. So now then, now the potatoes and the cabbages I do have in my inventory here are frozen. So what I want to do is put the potatoes in here, put that in here. I've got some fresh carrots here and the cabbages here. The frozen carrots I'm going to put back. I don't want those. Okay, so we'll turn this on. We'll defrost these items. Microwave is good for that. We don't want to put anything metal in the microwave. It will catch the place on fire. I don't want to fire at this point in time. Alright, there we go. Everything is... Alright, we'll loot all that stuff. Now we will add in our cabbage. It's stale, but it'll still make. Alright, we will add in another cabbage. So we've got fish and cabbage. Does not sound appetizing to me. I don't know about you, but that's doesn't sound like what I would want my thing to be. But that's okay. We're going to add some more cabbage in here. Now we're going to put some potatoes in here next. There's a potato. 18 gives it the vegetables. Now we'll come into this one here and we'll add another 18 potato. So the food value is definitely going up. It's now fish and vegetables. We will now add a radish to that one. Radishes don't add much food value. It's interesting. The let's see, and that took care of everything in there. I don't really need anything there. So let's see, stir fry. That took care of everything there. Now that we've got the stir fries in here, they're uncooked. We want to throw them in the stove and cook them. Now the food value for each one of these is 63. Whoops. That was supposed to be turning on. I guess I clicked the wrong button. Switch gets when I'm not watching what I'm doing. Instead, I was trying to find the food value. So that's going to be 63 food. That's pretty good. With my fish that I caught, I just need to catch a whole bunch of fish. Then we need some more food coming in from our garden. Our food is beginning to get stale, and other things are happening. We're sort of out of carrots at this point. So our ability to cook fresh food is going to go away pretty soon. We're going to have to rely on canned food and stuff like that. But there's lots of canned food around. We'll be fine until it gets to be springtime. We can bring in some more stuff. Our ability, since it does go bad in the refrigerator, it's not a... it takes a while to do things, right? It doesn't, just can't bring the stuff in and freeze it and it stay good for a long period of time. I mean, we brought those cabbages into summer and they're already going rotten, even though they're frozen in the freezer. Don't know what that's about. I would think things would last longer in the freezer than that, but that's the way the game works. So this will be the end of this episode here as we finish up cooking these items. I just wanted to go through a little bit of a different episode, kind of go through the story of who Woodrow Liles is, what he's doing in this apocalypse, what he plans to accomplish next. We did catch a fish in this episode. We still haven't caught anything with trapping, but we will keep trying on the trapping, and we'll see where it takes us. Well, thank you guys for watching. This is, like I mentioned, the 100th episode of Season 2 here with Woodrow Liles.
If you're enjoying the videos, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I post new videos for Project Zomboid on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and other videos at various times during the week. Thank you for watching, and take care.